Hello, friends. I recently had somebody ask me if I could do a video about what love is. I think it was, what is the definition of love, not the mushy kind. And I think that's a wonderful subject for a video. And as always, I will be curious about what's going to come out of my mouth, although I do have some things that are swirling around in there about it. The first thing that comes up for me when I heard came up for me when I heard that question was that when I used to be with a spiritual teacher in Australia by the name of Barry Long, he would say that love is not an emotion. And in those days, for certainly for me, before I had done the deeper emotional work, I didn't really know that. It was just more, okay, whatever. But as the awakening and the embodiment deepens, it becomes very obvious. And also, when I had my first big spiritual awakening, what I realized was that in reality, there only is love, and that I am love. And I certainly experienced a lot of love during those 2 or 3 months where I was living in this divine state of awakening or love, or I don't even know how to what to call it. But all I literally experienced was love. And it was just this overwhelming experience of what do we, of love. What is love? Of sweetness, of joy, of wholeness. There wasn't any of that stuff that we usually get identified with. And then when we are identified with something else, we are cut off from the source of love that we already are and only are. And then when we go out there, of course, we start searching for love because, we cannot help wanting love, even though we may not quite know what it is, because we are love. So why would we not search for that or want that? I think that is completely valid. But the experience of being love and realizing that everything in love is love, it puts a very different perspective of what we experience as human love. And there are many, many varieties of human love, and human love is beautiful. I think we all really enjoy it when it is in its purity and when it's right. But many times when we live outside of our natural state of love out here, not experiencing that we already are love, we can't feel it. And we don't experience it. So we try and be loving because we want it. And we want to be loved. And many times, in order to be loved, we believe that we need to give up parts of ourselves. Otherwise, we won't receive the love. And that's a very common thing. I certainly have done it. We compromise. We say yes when we mean no. We say no when we feel a yes. So we keep compromising ourselves when we live out here because we want love. And so the only type of love we will then experience is basically outside of the divine love. And it's I don't know if I could call it a fabricated love, hoping for some kind of an exchange. If I do this, then I will receive love. Or if I don't do this, meaning hold myself back, then I won't be loved. So I have to find a way to receive that love from the outside. And what we forget is that we literally are that love, and we need to learn to open up to that from the inside out. Now, in that time that I went through that awakening, for many, many years after, there was a whole process to figure out what happened and why did I lose it. And what I realized, of course, was that um, I was not loving myself. I had cut myself off left, right, and center from the love before I had the awakening. And then when the awakening went away, I kind of went back to old patterns, but something had changed in me. I knew something, I had realized it, but the realization didn't last, which is also very common for many people who have big spiritual opening, and it changes everything. It changes you forever, but it may take a lot of time to fully integrate that and embody it and realize that, oh, it was not God giving me something from the outside, although it felt like that. When it happened, it felt like the heavens opened up and I was just the love and the light was just pouring in. I was like, whoa, I could not help but, just say thank you, thank you. It was so big. And then when it went away, I had this belief that God had left me. There was something wrong with me. I was bad, all the things that I've talked about, and that I had to go through myself. And then little by little, by loving all the parts in me, by never ever denying myself any kind of love, even if I make mistakes, even if I do something that might be stupid or unwise or immature, I just had to come back and just really stay open in myself to receive the love that I already am. And in that way, it feels like it kind of filled out those pockets where I had denied myself love that were still unintegrated. And then little by little, they become more and more integrated. So let's look at that. When Barry Long says that love is not an emotion, that might be a surprise and a shock to many people because we do experience it as that. It's an emotional love where I love you, you. And if you go away, then love goes away here, then I don't feel love anymore. Right? It's very, very common. So, in that sense, he was spot on and he encouraged us and invited us to really find that love inside of ourselves. And so, when we use love as a way to integrate the parts of ourselves that are not experiencing love yet, we are literally tuning in to the source of who we are. And instead of denying ourselves the source, that fountain, we allow ourselves to stay open to receive it and keep receiving it and giving it to every part of ourselves until we really feel pretty darn whole and full of love. And then this love will overflow. It will just move through us. It will just guide us and express itself without us having to do it, without having to be loving. I have to be more loving, right? I think it's a great intention. Trust me, it's so much better than, I'm going to be angry or something. So you're already tuning into the love and you can feel that love if I can stitch it back to longing, which I talk about so much, right? So instead of saying, I want to be more loving, it's like I long to be more loving. It's something you feel, right? I want it, I long for it. And that is the longing. The longing is the love itself. They're not separate. The longing is just a way to get our attention that love is already what we are. Love is already here. And so by allowing that to to guide us and say, I want to be more loving, then you are tuned in to the love that you are. And then you start opening up to it more and more. And the more we stay with the longing and say yes to it, the more it will start flowing out through us and in us and around us and out to the world. But we're not doing anything to make it happen. All we're doing is to be willing to be more loving, if that would be a longing for somebody. It certainly has been for me. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to, behave like that. I want to come from here. So it's a very beautiful process. And as we do that, there's it's kind of like a deepening, and you will notice that your actions are naturally going to be more loving without trying, without efforting. It's just because you are not closing off the fountain of love. It's so simple when you start seeing it, but it's so difficult when we are still so identified with that we're not loved or that we're not loving. So I would say self-love is just turning kindness and acceptance, not judging yourself. It's a way of stopping being hard on yourself, being critical on yourself, judging yourself, putting yourself down. So it's not so much a doing like I love myself, it's more a way of undoing how we have kept ourselves separate from love. It's a little bit of a twist there, right? So if you're not loving yourself, you're holding it back, and then you will go out there and you want to be more loving, you're going to do it from a sense of separate self that is not connected to love. So here you're out, your tank is empty, there's no love in there, but you have an intention to be more love. So you might appear more loving and more kind, and it's a great thing. I would say keep it up. But at some point, you don't have to try or effort so hard, because now you are loving every part of you that you have been denying in the past. And then naturally, it just happens. You will not think, oh, I need to be more loving. It's just happening. And if you run into a situation where it's not happening, where you feel like, oh, you're not loving, then you can consciously hold that part of you that is not being loving out there. So the more you nurture all parts of yourself that you have denied love, that you have denied wholeness and oneness, the more you do that, it just flows. I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody is, but I know that when I keep bringing my loving attention, my loving intention to myself, it simply melts the walls that we have. That's a roomy one, right? Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the places within yourself that you have turned away from love. I think it's something like that. So that's basically what I'm talking about. And thank you, Rumi, for reminding me of that quote. So it's just melting away these barriers, these walls. And that's the only reason we're not loving out there, is because we have these walls. It can't come through. So we go out there and we try to be loving, or we behave more lovingly, but it's not connected. And so it also asking about, the not mushy love. There's a lot of mushy love out there. And I have to admit, I have a lot of that with my pets, with my cats. I just love mushy, mushy, and just snuggle with them and love them and kiss them and just love them up. So again, there's nothing wrong with mushy love. But again, is mushy love can also be the identity that we've taken on that feels needy inside because we're denying ourselves love. So we go out there being needy, and then we think, oh, if I just do a little more dish, then maybe, it feels more like love. Maybe I don't know. I'm not that type out there anymore. I have probably done some of that in the past, trying to behave more lovingly, but it wasn't really connected. It came from a sense of cutting off. And again, I'm not saying that's the same for you. You can just see. So many times the purity of love can also feel cold or cool. And I remember that also. That was something that Barry Long also talked about. And when I was practicing, his teachings many, many years ago, where you don't have that emotion behind it, you don't feed everything with these emotions that are attachments and that are identifications. As I started dropping those more and more, I just felt the love. It's like, wow, it feels like I'm so cold in my love compared to a lot of the mushy stuff. But it wasn't true. But there it kind of it might feel like a phase where you feel like you might be, am I cold? Am I really feeling love? But as the love purifies us, when we let the love purify us, the love is more pure without all that extra fluff. Because there's no fluff in love. There's just love. And it could be experienced as like cool or maybe not caring for a while. So I would say just get used to that. And if you're used to doing mushy mushy love, your friends might go like, what's going on? It can be a little tricky when we let go of our identifications. But it can be, to me, it's just there's just a presence in that. And I'm not trying to do anything with it. I remember there was a phase also where I felt like when I felt this love, if I felt I have to do something with it. And then that also fell away. It does itself. It oozes out. It expresses itself. It can come through words, through look in the eye, just a presence. But the love is there. It's very obvious and it's very still and it's very present and it's very beautiful and it's very different than many people think. So maybe they'll think you're cold or cool, not the cool kind of cucumber cool, but cooler. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that is okay. And then as you deepen in the okayness, you will allow the love to express itself more and more. And then it will change. People will probably just feel it from you without you having to do anything. So it's an interesting question, and I really thank you for asking me that question. And it allowed me to explore it a little more within myself and with you. So before I end today, I want to say, what is love to you? What does love mean to you? Anybody who's listening, feel free to comment below and let me know what it is for you. Maybe you have a very different experience than I have, and I'm curious to hear about it. If you want to join me this coming Tuesday, March 6th, for my online gathering called Feel Your Deepest Longing, Find Your Spiritual Calling, you can sign up on the link below, and then you'll get on my list, and then you can join by making a donation, and then you will receive the Zoom link so we can join in kind of virtual person here on Tuesday. Thank you so much, and explore what is love. It's a great question.